What's your sign? What's your sign, baby? What's your sign? What's your sign?
Welcome to What's Your Sign? I'm Julia Loken.
I'm Stevie Goldstein.
I'm Lisa Stardust.
And today, if you have been following astrology, you are absolutely sure to have encountered our special guest's work. She is the resident astrologer for the Today Show and Teen Vogue, but she's also been featured in just about anything that you can think of. Cosmo, Refinery 29. I think her hottest credit, though, is possibly coining the term retro shade in pop culture. I mean, how do we get this on a plaque for her? Also the author of the Astrology Tarot deck. Give it up for our guest, Lisa Stardust.
Hi, it's so nice to be here. I'm such a big fan of the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
I'm excited to, get this party started today.
Yes. I feel like this is one that's been in a long time in the works. We're like in the,
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of parties, somebody gave me your deck for my bachelorette, and I absolutely love it. And I want to say before, because I think I've mentioned it on a previous episode, but whoever's idea, I assume it was you, to make the little sheet a circle, the little info sheet, and it's like, where did I put it? I just had it. I'll show it at some point.
That's my idea.
It's genius, and it makes so much sense, and people need to see their charts that way. Here it is. It's like, it just makes so much more sense. Why isn't every deck having a little wheel
circular guide
that folds into it, like shows you all the it's genius. And I just wanted to say that really quick.
Yeah, the OG artwork, for that was done by me on a cocktail napkin, and I have the handwriting, illegible handwriting. My mom hates it. She always yells at me since I was a child, and everyone was like, I can't understand what you're saying. And that was probably, I think, the most extensive part of the deck, was getting that chart organized for the artist to create.
That's so cool.
I love that. The best things start on a cocktail napkin is also something I've uncovered in life. Just bar scribblings always lead to just bigger inventions.
Well, I was at a bar in Manhattan in New York City, and there was this random book, and I was really into it that night. And I said, I wrote in the book, if you're my soulmate, text me at this number, because when you're 24 years old, that seems like a really smart thing to do. So a lot of people messaged me, and one time I got a message from this person, and they said, hi, I'm in a relationship, but I want you to come to this party because there are going to be a lot of people there you should meet, if you're looking for love. But of course I declined because I didn't want to get murdered. So,
yes,
my intuitive nature told me to stay home that night. But yeah,
you're like, I want to get laid, but not
the age.
Bad.
It's like the age-old struggle of being a woman. Do you want to meet your soulmate, or do you want to get murdered?
Exactly. It's like, I think I'm gonna stay home and watch The Breakfast Club. And my ex.
I feel like I need to disclose that you're a Libra rising after just this initial chat of design and these like fate things and relationships. And I just love this equivalent of you writing your number basically on a bathroom stall, but it is way more romantic in a book at a bar. I should say. So do you relate to Libra rising in your, like, I guess what's your feelings being a Libra rising chart person?
Well, relationships are really important to me, and I really like to build relationships and nurture and care for them. My Venus is in Cancer, but it's retrograde. So I always jump into relationships before I decide whether or not I like the person. I'm just, ready to couple and to, be someone's friend if I connect with them. And I think for me, the hardest part about being a Libra rising is that I don't take my own love advice. I'm really good at giving love and romantic advice, but I never take it, for myself. But those who do, those who teach can't do. What's that expression?
Yeah, those who don't do teach.
Well,
those who can't teach Jim. I think was from Mean Girls.
Yes. I think there's something about, as a fellow Libra rising, I don't know what degree you're at, but I'm at like pretty close to 0. So I have Aquarius in the 5th house. And I think that there is something about, and that like Cancer on the MC, and there is something about almost like a neutral state of relationship where it's not necessarily like person to person. It is like being a receptacle for relationships in general, and like being a good capital F friend, being a good capital P partner, and also this kind of like universal energy too with that Aquarian 5th house, where it's like, this isn't for my own personal, this is like for the collective like teaching of relationships. This is for relationships as like a theoretical, philosophical, conceptual kind of thing, not necessarily because I like enjoy people. Do you relate to that? Well, not that I don't enjoy people as well, but there is something to me where it's like, it is about the like, again, like conceptual, philosophical kind of idea of being a good friend or partner or coworker, whatever it is.
Well, I have to say my South node's in my 5th house, and my North node's in my 11th house. So for me, I have like, for me, it's like I have my group of people that I'm really, really close with. And yes, I do really like to be a good friend. I really like to be there for people. I mean, I care about people, even if I get frustrated in the moment, which, I have a Sagittarius moon. I was born in an exact full moon in Sagittarius. So sometimes I get a little bit frustrated if people, aren't listening to what I'm saying, just because of the way my chart is. But, I really do have a lot of compassion and empathy for people who are my good friends and people who aren't. So even if I'm upset with someone, I always lead with love, and I try to be, higher minded about it. I mean, we all can be messy once in a while, and we all say things that we don't mean, or things in the heat of the moment. No one's perfect, but, I really allow people to have those moments with me as well, and I don't really hold it against them. So I think the thing about, with the Libra rising and Venus and Cancer in the 10th house is that it's really kind of made me more like emotionally connected to the work that I do. And I've always had jobs where I wanted to help the public, whether it be by feeding them or clothing them or giving them advice or just listening to people.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so like, I just already feel like, I'm also Cancer rising Mars. I'm like, I feel so comforted just hearing that, like, it's like a grace in space, I think, that we talk about a lot. And especially even too now with so much like therapy speak, or like wanting to speak correctly, that people aren't always speaking from the heart, which can be wrong and messy, and like just giving us the room to fuck up is like a very, that's just like what I heard in what you're sharing.
Well, I always say, it's never my expression. I just had a conversation with my mom because, we are going into eclipse season, and my mom is getting hit really hard by this eclipse because of her chart. And she got into a bunch of arguments that she started with people. And like, what I do,
defining, she started them.
She was like, I don't know why, I just had to say it. I was like, that's so unlike, my mom's a Pisces, so it's so unlike her. Just, be really like direct and confrontational and assertive sometimes. But what I said to her, something that I usually say to a lot of people, it's never too late to do the right thing. And if you feel that, you owe someone an apology, or if you're going to be in a stubborn place and say, well, it's their fault, they did this, they did that, but also maybe, you have to look at it from a different perspective. And, you know, as a Gemini, I always see my part in a bad situation or any situation, and I own it and I apologize for it. And I always say to everyone, you know, it's never too late to do the right thing. You know, even if it's tomorrow, a year from now, or 5 years, if you're still harboring a feeling towards it, you know, reach out, test the water, say what you have to say, and then you can have your peace. Sometimes people want to hear it, sometimes they don't. And the most important takeaway is that it's off your shoulders and you're putting it out there into the universe.
The Gemini and the Libra rising. Well, we pulled a card before you got on, and it was the Libra card. So we just read your little paragraph about, not little, I don't know why, your wonderful paragraph about Libras. But I think one of the things that Gemini and Libra we always talk about having in common is like the dual nature. And like, I think what you're talking about, it not being too late to do the right thing too, is so like both self-aware and aware of the world, if that makes sense. And I just think about like a lot of vision boards that I make have a lot of those like words on them, words that I think you even, I don't know if you said, but it sounded like humility and grace and like things like that I think we all shoot for. And the fact that it takes some kind of self-awareness and general presence to accomplish those things, I think is really valid.
Yeah. And I mean, we all have our moments and no one's perfect. And I always sort of, you know, when I listen to my friends and I listen to things that go on with them and even my clients, you know, I think that it's really important, first of all, to comfort people, because when people are experiencing whatever they're going through, it's really, you know, everyone wants that sort of assurance. And for me, you know, when I went back to therapy and I started with a new therapist, she actually, you know, gave me a lot of comfort and assurance. And it felt really nice to have someone on my side, someone who listened to me, you know? So I always try to emulate what she taught me.
What was her sign?
She is a Sagittarius. So
Love.
obviously
Comforting that moon energy for you right there. That's so, oh, yeah. I love that. Wait, hang on, because this episode will be coming out after our first eclipse.
But we'll still be in the season.
We'll be in the days between. Thoughts? What should we like? I feel like eclipses, when they come up, and we do like new moon and full moon episodes on our Patreon where we talk about them more. But when it's eclipse time, when it comes up, there is so much like, well, this could be times of start and times of end, but so much of that can come from left field or themes of the past or maybe previous eclipse cycles, like the reversals or whatnot. I'm just curious, as we're switching from this Taurus Scorpio energy with the eclipses to Aries Libra, which we've already had a little taste of in the spring. Just vibe check. Like, what's your thoughts? Maybe how we might feel that individually, collectively. Is that even a thing? Eclipse musings while we're in this eclipsey time.
Well, eclipses were one of the first things that I began to be infatuated with in astrology. And you know, just because if you can go back in your life, you're always going to see patterns that happen during eclipses. Now, there's a little hack to know what's kind of going to go on in your chart during an eclipse. You're going to look to where your natal north and south node are in your birth chart, what houses, what sign. Then you're going to look to the transiting north and south node and plug that into your chart, and then add the eclipses into your chart too. So, you know, for me, this eclipse coming up on the 28th is going to be in my 8th house. So, you know, every time I have an eclipse in the 8th house, it's all about, you know, really like rebirth, like regeneration, you know, and also I am kind of mourning the death of my grandmother who passed away, which would be like a very 8th house thing, because it's uncovering all of these feelings that I never know that I had. I mean, I always knew I had them, but how deep they were, because, you know, when you have someone in your life for so long, you know, you never say all the things that you need to say, you know, when you're in the moment. So it sort of unlocked all of these emotions this summer for me. So I think that the eclipse that's happening this weekend, the solar eclipse in Libra, we're also dealing with that conjunction or close alignment between Venus and Black Moon Lilith in Virgo. So we are going to see a lot of people kind of wanting to break out of a rut, break free, really assert their feelings. I always say solar eclipses, every new beginning comes from another beginning's end. If you can name that song from the 90s, you get golden stars now. And then the lunar eclipse coming up in Taurus basically is going to be more or less about how we connect with others and our relationships. Do we feel valued? Is it worth the effort and the work? The same day, I believe we have an opposition between Mars and Jupiter, and Jupiter's in Taurus. So we're really going to be feeling that energy on like a whole extreme level. But more or less, eclipses bring matters to light. If there's something in your life that you are lacking or want to add, it's a really good time to understand that. If you're being shady or you're doing something bad, you might get caught, I wouldn't do anything bad during eclipse season. I would try to be good and quiet. Fights and arguments can escalate a lot of the times. People really think that it's now or never during eclipses, and they have to protest in that moment. They have to propose to someone, they have to determine the relationship. But I think that I always say to people, maybe you should just think about what you want, ride the waves, and then go back to your original thought, because eclipses have a tendency of adding a lot of energy to us that kind of can make us anxious or paranoid or act erratically.
Well, I like what you said about things coming to light. I think a lot of people, we see a lot on, TikTok and Instagram and all kinds of social media stuff of people that maybe are a little bit less practiced or a little more risky in astrology, recommending kind of manifestation rituals. And we know that's not really like top of the list for eclipses. What kind of like other activities, what kind of like journaling or things do you think can be helpful in this time, rather than going through the kind of calling in and on shaky ground? What are like some other types of things that we can do that are maybe more internal?
I mean, I want to tackle this manifestation thing because I have listened to both sides of this argument. And I think that I fall in the middle because by nature, when you think of something and you put the idea into your head, that is manifestation. You're setting an intention. So when people say don't manifest anything during eclipses, I'm kind of like, but if you have a brain, you are thinking. So
yeah.
Are you telling us we're always manifesting if we're thinking of the things that we want to call in?
Saying we're always manifesting it, I think that, to do the ritual, I wouldn't say do the ritual to manifest. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say like set the intention, like do all the work that's involved. I wouldn't suggest starting it. But I always say during eclipses, it's really good to take a step back, get some rest, get a massage, focus on self-care, take a moon bath, like make moon water, charge your tarot decks or cleanse your crystals. I always say it's just a really good time to focus on healing yourself internally. But I always tend to take that approach with a lot of these lunar phases, especially the full moons, because full moons are really a restorative time to really tap into your intuition and to yourself. So I think that during eclipses, it's really good to just do something nice for yourself. There's going to be a lot of energy. You might not feel the best, and you might, want to just treat yourself to like a really good meal or hang out with some friends and watch Hocus Pocus,
Yes.
do something chill.
Wait,
Well,
I can't
that is
believe. Sorry, I just can't believe that we have a Libra rising on recorded record saying I'm in the middle on this
If you can
topic.
believe.
I also feel that people do have different magical practices, and
Yeah,
Totally.
magical practices don't really adhere to eclipses or the phases of the moon. So
I love
sometimes they
that.
use the days of the week, or sometimes it just doesn't matter.
yeah.
I love that answer too, because like sometimes, and we've been doing this podcast for 5 years. I'm not going to say like all of my magic candles, everything, but it's like sometimes I have an intention candle and I'm like, it's still not burning. Like, what do I not light it today? Or what do I not like? It's not like done yet. And I want a little extra glow in my house and stuff. And I don't think people need to be afraid of like things that you've already set in motion and all of that kind of things that you're already working with. And yes, of course, like it's a day you might be a little keyed up and like you might not get great sleep. You might need an extra coffee, like you're saying. You might need to go get a massage or like treat yourself to breakfast.
You might need to black salt your house.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Well, I think there's so much to be said about truly like the physical, and I think everyone's going to feel it differently, but that's something that I really notice about the eclipses is just going like, oh, like the week leading up, I do notice my sleep is different. I do notice that the energy is more like palpable and electric no matter what sign this is happening in. And I think your note about taking care of yourself, doing something nice for yourself is is magic and is ritual in and of itself, because that's not always easy for us to do, especially when we live in such a culture that wants us to go and do something, fix something. When you feel that kind of energy and go, oh, something must be wrong, this must be something that I have to like fight against or do something. I'm tired. Well, there's no time to be tired. Go like keep doing the thing instead of doing something like taking a bath, getting a massage. And I think that also can be as like revelatory as having a fight or popping off or something like that, noticing like, oh, this is different energy that I need to, that I can both, that still is like harnessing the energy, if that makes sense.
And it manifests in your physical body. I mean, a massage, like sometimes you're like, oh, I have been tense in that shoulder for a week. And that's why I'm always like,
yes,
fighty
yes.
or whatever.
And is that not also like bringing to light things in your life or whatever? All of that, sometimes it's like, oh, that's not I can't be the direct conduit in a conscious way, but my body is telling me, oh, this thing is a problem, or this, oh, I've been holding on to a lot, oh, this is how I've been existing in the world that maybe I wasn't aware of.
I mean, that's why I am a very big advocate of self-care, because I think a lot of the times we don't give ourselves enough attention, and we always give to others, and I think that it's really important to carve out some time in the week, whether it's just by sleeping or just spending the day watching movies, or just taking a walk or a hike by yourself, in which you can really give yourself a lot of TLC. I use TLC a lot in the work that I do, because a lot of people don't give themselves TLC. And it's really important, because, at the end of the day, you're the most important person in your life. And it's really important to, harbor the relationship and the kindness you give to yourself. And
you're such a Cancer Venus ruled person. It's like astounding. I'm loving it. What's your Mercury?
Gemini. But actually, the kindest thing someone said to me one time was that I have a Virgo stellium, so I'm really hard, and I really take the responsibility of a lot that I don't need to. Ever since I was a child. And I take on like the responsibility, and I take on, the weight of people's problems for them. And I get really, I really care for people, and I have a lot of patience, until I don't. But Sagittarius moon. But like this person told me that I really need to start being more gentle on myself because I'm too harsh on myself. And a lot of us are. And I think that, when I listen to clients and friends and people complain about relationships and they say, why doesn't this person want to be with me? And I always, I look at the chart, the horary chart, I look at the tarot cards, and I'm like, it's not you, it's them, like, but we all do that a lot of the times. And I really wish that we wouldn't, because I think that, people just project a lot of nonsense onto us and we don't need to take on.
It beats down your confidence in a lot of ways. And I feel like when you have those moments when you're not feeling confident, it affects like the way you stand. It affects your physical body. It affects I feel like it's a shock roll almost, like where it's like, oh, you're like protecting and going inward, and there's so much, you have so much more to show and give.
Well, and it's like, it's never the advice that you ever give anyone else is like, maybe very rarely, but are you ever like, you should be harder on yourself about this? Like,
accountability for anything, and I'm like, they need to take accountability, because I'm always the first to like jump in and take accountability for things that I didn't even do, So I'm like, when I was a child, I think like one time my sister spilled orange juice on the floor and my mom was like, who did that? And I was like, I did it, and I didn't do it, and I got I got in trouble for not cleaning it up. And I'm always like the first to be like, I did it. But I also think that there's a fine line within doing that too. I also Venus and Cancer, like I protect the people I care about, and whenever I'm in my own mood, I like to be in my own cocoon, and just feel my feels. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like protective and also like I think with Aries descendant too is that like I think on that flip for others can be that self-sacrifice, which can be like really like Romeo and Juliet, like romantic, poetic, but then also self-sacrifice sometimes too. And I think it comes up a lot in charts, especially with Cancers and Leos. I think it's like a luminary sun and moon thing. Is like we are like growing into our chart as time goes on too. Like some of those themes of Cancer energy or Libra energy or whatever it is might be foreign, when you're younger, because you're going through puberty and like establishing ego, and also maybe then going into magic. I was curious because I read on like your bio about like coming from like a mystical family. I always like love an origin story. Also Cancer placements. Like when did like how did astrology start for you? And I'm always curious too, like were you on like another path, like studying something, or was it always astro and magic? Like how did we get here?
So growing up, I just want to preface by saying that I just wrote an article about the 25th anniversary of Practical Magic. I'll get that in my story because that's happening.
Thank
God. But
love.
I was born into a kind of magical family. My dad comes from a long line of Kabbalists. There's actually a book written about my family that my dad has about, because I think Rashi was one of my ancestors, and then or a direct line of King David. I mean, I'm Princess Lisa. That's the joke in the family. It's not that I would be a princess, but it's always a joke, because
doesn't sound like a joke to me. I'm hearing
I'm like, that's how my Libra rising needs to live. That's my joke with all my friends.
Yes.
But it's not true. I wouldn't be a princess, but I always like to joke about it. So my dad actually, he is a Kabbalistic healer on top of the work that he does outside of that. But my dad's mother is from Cuba, and she would always do these little rituals and spells, and I never knew what she was doing. I just thought, oh, like you do a Olympia, like that's an eggplant. But like, okay, like that just seemed normal to me. And she was really into Walter Mercado and Her
Yes.
tagline for everything would be, "I'm a Leo, drop mic." That's how she would end every argument. "I'm a Leo after all,"
Oh
So
my God.
drop mic end scene. And um, on my mother's side, my great grandmother, she used to read tarot cards in the Lower East Side during the Great Depression. So, but she would
Wow.
read playing
Cool.
cards because she couldn't afford tarot cards because that was like a luxury. So I grew up sort of in this kind of like witchy family, and my dad would always take me to look at the crystal exhibits, at the Museum of Natural History. That was our thing. And we would collect crystals. I wanted to be a gemologist when I was a child because I loved
Aw.
stones and crystals, and we had like all of these books on it that my dad would get me. And my mom like loves a good psychic. So I remember she had a psychic that she would call in Salem once a month, and that was like, growing up, that was her time, and she would sit in the dark and light candles and get her reading.
Wow.
So I always
Mhm.
had, an understanding and fascination. And there was this local store in my neighborhood down an alleyway, a cobblestone alleyway called Pastimes. And they had 3 black cats that would always run in the alleyway. And the store smelled of patchouli, and they had chimes in the alleyway. And I would always go in there, and my parents would take me, or I spend my allowance there on the weekends with friends. But I always was very much into astrology. And it wasn't until my Saturn return where I became engrossed in the topic, where I thought like, wow, like I'm really passionate about this. This is something that I really, am meant to do. But
Mhm.
it's interesting because my dad got my chart read for me when I was a child, and I must have been like a few years old, and he forgot the birth time. So I always thought I had a Virgo rising. And
Mm.
I went through life. And then when I found that I had a Libra rising, because I ordered my birth certificate from the Department of Vital Records, I was like, I don't even know who I am anymore. Like I had this like, I'm like, who am I? But I think that everyone who knows me knows that, Libra rising more fits me, just because I like to dress in monochrome colors, and I always like, I'm very like my apartment is very Libra, I like things to like always be balanced. And I always joke, if I had it my way, like my room would be just like one solid color, like Kim Kardashian.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like I understand her aesthetic in her home. I love it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
she's a Libra. So
And a Sag, or she's a Sag rising, I think too. I was
Yeah.
like, so I feel like you guys have that mutual.
What
I don't
color
think that-
is your aura? I'm curious if you have
Oh,
feelings on that, Lisa.
I get my aura picture taken every few months.
Wow.
The place that's in Chinatown.
Magic jewelry.
They also have they have a store in Flushing, Queens, and the store in Flushing, Queens is 10 times bigger and nicer than the one in Chinatown. So
Okay,
All right.
shout out, hot tip
I know,
from
it's
a
like,
Libra
you heard it.
rising right there.
You heard it here, folks.
Get
I
your
love it.
asses to Flushing immediately.
That's like 10 feet tall. I love it. And the
Yes.
store there, and they did a raffle for it, and I was like, and I took my my friend there, and I'm like, what would you do if you won this like 10-foot like amethyst crystal in the raffle?
Drop to your knees and
Oh my
cry.
God.
Thank the
Yeah,
the
where would you
gods.
put it in like your apartment? It was huge. Like, where would you put it in your New York City small apartment? Um, but yeah, so my aura is constantly changing. The first time I had my aura picture taken in the year, I had a white ring around my head, a white halo around my head, and on my heart chakra, exactly on my heart chakra, it was pink. And then I had indigo and um, lavender and light blue and white. That's my aura. But then a few months later, I got my aura picture taken, and it was red primarily, but
Oh.
I was in a place of change then, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and red. So I was in a place of change and transition and really kind of stepping into a place of like assertiveness and creativity, like Lorde was in her picture that she took with her album that came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the next one was like red, like all red. I got that one taken in Salem, Massachusetts. And then I had my aura picture taken a few months ago, and it was, it was pretty much like white and like white and like pink and lavender back to and indigo
Oh.
back to. And so, our auras are always changing. And that's why we always have to be careful about the people that we connect with, because the energy is really contagious and we can pick up on their auras. And, that's why I'm constantly, it's really important to cleanse your energy, once you do a reset.
What
wait.
color would the room be if you were to? Would it match your aura? Would it be like something where you feel like? I know you said whites, but like, would it be like something where you feel like you get to stand out, or would it be just like? Would there be a monochromatic, like millennial pink?
No, I love millennial. I secretly love millennial pink, but
I do too.
It's a good shade.
Yeah,
it's a good shade of pink.
I guess my room right now, I painted the walls like a very, very, very light lavender, like almost like white gray, just because I really like that soothing energy when I'm in my room decompressing. I like to feel like I'm underwater, like
Cancer Venus. It's just so.
It's also very spiritual, like to be, that's like very Neptunian and accessing a lot of, I think, kind of 12th housey stuff is very like, those lighter underwater colors.
Lavender is the color for Cancer, so I guess that's why.
Sorry, I heard something about practical magic, and I have to come back to that.
Yeah, we gotta revisit.
Yeah. One of the greatest works of all time.
So growing up, I used to, hang out at this place called the Witch's Brew on Long Island, and I just went there the other night with my friend Sarah Potter, who's a tarot reader.
Yeah, past guest,
friend of the pod.
Yeah, and we go there, we drink our teas. And when I was growing up, I used to go there all the time with my friends, and we would just talk about stuff and read tarot cards, talk about astrology. And I went to high school in Manhattan, so during gym class, they'd be like, you have to run around the reservoir, and I was like, ew, no, I'm not doing that. So we would like run, like we would walk halfway, and then we would, if there was a full moon, like that day, we'd like make a full moon circle and be bad and like smoke cigarettes and like pretend that we're craft. And I watched Practical Magic for the first time, and it really kind of allowed me to kind of know that it's normal to be like witchy, because I always had a fear of being judged or people rolling their eyes at me when I would talk about astrology. And I always kind of look back at that movie and remember one of the lessons was, being normal is so boring. You should be who you are and be true to yourself. Be true to, your gifts and your talents and what interests you. And if you're open with yourself, then people will want to be around you. So, since that movie's coming out it's the 25th anniversary on Monday, and I think it's playing at a lot of theaters, and I just wrote an essay about it for the Today Show. It's definitely a movie that I recommend for all baby or adult witches to watch, because it will remind you that it's being true to who you are, no matter who you are, is what you should be all the time.
also, I think this episode will be out on the anniversary on that Monday.
Yeah.
So aligned.
Midnight margaritas, everybody.
Did you? I don't know if this was in your roundup, but I'm Practical Magic freak. But did you hear about like Barbara Streisand really wanted to buy the house from Practical Magic and then had to be informed it's a set, and everyone was like really disappointed that the house is like it feels like it does exist. Like I feel like I can go pilgrimage to there, and hey, maybe the powers that be build the house. Let us all. That's
the HGTV show I want. I'm
building
done.
The Practical Magic house.
I'm done with all this flipping. I'm done with all of the renovation. Build me. I want. We could start with Practical Magic, but also it could be like dream houses.
Yes.
I either want that house or the house from the Love Witch.
Yes.
Yeah.
So many, and also, I mean, even the Los Feliz Spanish mansion in The Craft when she's like moving from San Francisco, which I always thought she moved so far away, and it's like it's SF, babe, but too rainy.
Same time zone.
Same time zone. You could literally go there today, but that house was just like her like tiled fireplace room. Like they just don't
that house
of movies.
That house from The Craft, I don't think it is the same house, but it is like a 90s. There's like a 90s Spanish style California entryway that's also like kind of like the 90210 house, kind of this where it's like a very tight. I feel like this is narratively too, where it's like a very tight, narrow entryway, and then we like open up into the big thing where we can't really see a lot about the people at the beginning. But I mean, love. Oh.
Wow. Yeah. Required viewing for all the folks. And you brought up Saturn return, like getting more into astrology from Saturn. I know you have the Saturn Return Survival Guide book. Thoughts for Saturn and Pisces? Maybe are people going through it the first time, the second, possibly third? What this means for maybe not us with it natally, but us collectively for these next couple of years.
So Saturn and Pisces, I always assume, because Pisces is sort of like goes through like its own motions, walks to the beat of its own drum, even though people say that with Aquarius, moms of Pisces. And, I always say Pisces live in their dreams and their imagination, which is something really beautiful. I think I want to put a positive spin on this. I want to say that we're really going to kind of want to make our visions a reality and really work hard to putting them into play. So I think you're going to see a lot of people doing rebrands or doing strange or different alliances just to ensure that they're kind of really putting their dreams into motion.
I love that.
What's the negative spin of it?
I mean, Saturn can be a little tricky and a little hard to work with, but I always say that it's just teaching us the lessons that we need to be learned in life. And without Saturn, we wouldn't have structure. So maybe it's more about like restructuring or structuring our dreams the way that they can become practical. If we didn't have Saturn, we wouldn't brush our teeth every day because Saturn's all about routine. So, we have to give the planet some love,
Yeah.
I got a couple people I got to introduce the Saturn to.
Well, I like that.
You don't have to drag me like that. Lisa.
Not you. No,
some people might disagree, but go.
Depends on the time of day.
Yeah.
It's hard to brush twice, okay? I fall asleep.
Well, we wouldn't be on time to meet people without Saturn. We wouldn't, we would just, they would call Saturn, father time. So
it'd be chaos without him. It'd be just pure Jupiter hedonism without a little bit of like, take your
aggression.
Well, it's a big party where there's no like forks to eat the food that you have.
Like who ordered the
like
booze?
Where everybody brought napkins. You know what I mean? Like, I like that about taking your dreams seriously, giving some structure to them, and also thinking about what are those things that kind of are like not necessarily negative, but thinking of the things that are like hounding you. What's the thing that keeps coming at you, which feels very Saturn Pisces of like, is this a recurring pressure you've felt to make this a reality? Let's do it. What are you waiting for?
Mm-hmm.
I think about it also in terms of relationships. A lot of people who want to be in relationships, we all dream of having our happily ever after. So now it's time to find ours and to really define what that means for us on a soulful and real level.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
We get to make the terms of our relationships, and I always say to people, what goes on behind closed doors is no one's business. And it's great to share things that go on, but I think that, Saturn doesn't like to overshare. And I think that this transit is really going to kind of make us see that the only opinions that matter are our own,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
listening to what people say.
I like that. It also feels very, especially with the energy of just life looking out the window and Saturn being in Saturn signs these last few years. Pisces is a real grip loosening, and also not like what you should do, which I think Saturn and Saturn, like a Capricorn or Aquarius, can kind of get that vibe, where Pisces is more like what you feel like doing. And I think that selective, we joke that like gatekeeping is for sure coming back. It's like, maybe I don't need to give away everything to all of you.
Well, it is that maintaining the space that only you go to for yourself internally.
Mm-hmm.
And we've maintained all of these kind of outer spaces, or we've been very, I feel like this has been a time where we've been very clear about, not very clear necessarily, but more concerned with those kinds of things. But it is like, I don't know, some subconscious structure, not necessarily like that discipline there. What are you doing? Internal health, not physical, but spiritual, like that. How does it feel in there? And if it doesn't, again, if there's a bunch of dreams that are unexpressed, or if there's a bunch of, if you haven't been in there for a while, it's going to feel unfamiliar. But making sure that is being maintained too feels necessary, given all of the outward structure stuff that we've been looking at, talking about for the past 6 years plus.
In the tarot, the Saturn in Pisces is represented by the Eight of Cups. So if you look at the Eight of Cups, it's someone kind of walking away from a situation and focusing on what's in front of them and not what's behind them. So
Julie, was that the card
Yes.
we kept pulling up?
Yes, I was like,
All
I just
right.
got Eight of Cups a bunch of times, and
we were
pulling cards
with
at the
each
pool,
other
at the pool,
and we kept
pulling
getting
at the
it.
pool.
We were pulling at the pool, and we were mixing those. Now we were mixing that deck
different
up.
decks too,
And different decks.
wow,
All right, sorry,
so
sorry to pop
it's
off
really-
in there.
okay, it's really a calling. Pull that card a lot. I always say it's always a calling that maybe it's time to just walk away from a situation that isn't working. It doesn't mean that you're gone forever, because I always say, nothing ever ends. You know what I mean? It's like it can start up again, but maybe giving the situation a break and focusing on something else for the time being. I don't know the context of the question, so
yeah.
I think just to provide like even the smallest, it's like you're pregnant. Of course you're going to be walking away from stuff and towards something else. Like it's not, and it also like that doesn't mean you're giving up your life or big major things, but it's like little things are going to change your day-to-day routine. You're going to have to like not brush your teeth sometimes.
Yes.
I feel like other people's like bullshit. That's not
totally.
Well, and I think there's also
important. Like I'm going to focus on things that are important. Sorry.
Yes. No, absolutely. I literally said to myself about a situation, I give up. Like not not even in a defeated way, in a like, you know what, this struggle that's happening here is like I'm not doing this anymore. I'm like, I relinquish the struggle, and this can happen without me. And like, that's what you said, like walking away, not forever necessarily, but like for now, my hands are out of this.
Well,
Remember that episode in Sex and the City when a woman's right to shoes? I think that's what it's called when her friend, when she loses her shoes and her friend's
Yes.
like, I have like 2 kids and a job. I don't have time for this,
Yes.
Like
oh
I
yes.
forgot all about it. And we all were laughing at the episode, but I get where she was coming from. She lost her shoes, whatever. It was really empowering for her, but like that was kind of narcissistic to call someone who's like juggling all of these things about, the shoes, and being like, you should pay for my shoes. It's like, give this woman a break. Like she has a lot in her hands,
Mhm.
Yeah.
So.
Don't come at Tatum O'Neal like that. That was the guest. I believe that was the guest star. I think on the Eight of Cups too, and I think this stepping back to, since we're in very great pop culture references right now, it reminds me even of the full-on Monet of if you step back, it's beautiful. If you get up close, it's a big old mess. But with art, and I think Saturn and Pisces, I hope ushers in more art and less content and more of like intention and photos and video. I don't know. I think we're like the whole language of like what we are making and what we're outputting. I hope shifts, because I think part of art is sometimes the best answer is like, if you're writing a script, it's like, well, put it away for a month and come back. And then it's gonna, sometimes if you're too with it for so long, you don't even know what you're making anymore. So I think that might also, that feels very Eight of Cups in like a very art maker sort of sense.
Also with Monet, like my friend Lynn Molly, who's an amazing comedian, you should follow her, was just at Monet's house in Europe and like was taking photos and posting on Instagram. And it's so interesting to see kind of and obviously it's not like the same as it was or whatever, but like the garden and the things, like obviously the things that are getting painted and kind of the way that it's done almost makes it a little bit more interesting, that that's not like hyper real, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know, I feel like we sometimes we attribute things to being something they're not or whatever, where it's like this person was like being creative in a beautiful space. Like that's something to be admired regardless of whether you like the style or whether it's like
living a life of art as
yeah,
well,
totally.
on top of the art that's being created.
Or what about this separating the art from the artist? That's something too that I think is going to come. I mean, we've been dealing with this for a really long time with a lot of, people who've been exposed for their secret alliances or predators in Hollywood. It's like, I think personally that, I think that they're one and the same. So I can't separate the art from the artist on a personal level, because but that's like a big controversy that a lot of people are discussing now. I have Pluto in my ascendant too, and Libra, and my my Sag, when I'm always kind of trying to find the middle ground. But I always like, if something that I hear about someone upsets me, and especially this like Danny Masterson thing, just like shift for a second. I was like, I never liked the 70s show. I was like, first of all, he always weirded me out. And I'm like, and I heard a lot of stories from people, a friend of a friend. And I always kind of got, like an icky feeling from him. And I'm like, I will never really watch anything that he does, because for me, it's hard to separate the art from the artist. So
totally.
I'm the same way too. When I moved to LA, that was like one of the first things people told me. So I'm like, the fact that this is 10 years of, people knowing, at least like in social circles or whatever, is already, like you're saying, icky. And then it's like, I don't know. I do have a hard time because I feel like maybe it's because I'm a woman or Cancer moon or something, but it's like, because I feel triggered to remember those things, and not like triggered in the trauma response way, but just like I see the person's face and that's what I think of, like that's what I associate it with. And it's hard for me to be like, okay, like let me dive into this, other world or whatever thing that you're trying to create. It's just difficult for me.
Yeah, when I was in high school, my art teacher, she taught us all about Picasso, and she was like, oh, you have to read this book, I think Life with Picasso. It was written by one of his ex-lovers, and after that book, I was like, I'm never looking at a piece of Picasso or whatever again, because, and he's such a famous artist, and I get a lot of flack from people. And I'm like, well, like, in his art, like he depicted like women the way that he treated them. And, there's a very big explanation if you read the book behind that. And it just made me kind of like, just personally get like icky feelings whenever I would just, even discuss it. But, as I said,
well,
was your teacher Nanette?
Professor Hannah Gadsby. Well, I think there's a difference between acknowledging cultural relevance and going, hey, by the way, this person here's who this person was, and we can't undo that Picasso is one of the most famous painters to work. And we also can say his style was influential and all of these sorts of things. And also, in retrospect, that was shitty behavior, and we've been rewarding men who've behaved like this for all of time. At what point do we say, hey, I guess I don't think we need a new painting movement yet. I think we could maybe ask people to treat people better and see what art gets made. Maybe art is going to be shit. That is a total possibility. And then we as a culture can reconcile our values with that. But why don't we maybe take a minute and go, hey, these people were assholes, right?
Yeah. Or uplift more diverse people to make this art. Like, even just that phrase of like, this has been rewarded for so long, is like, it's a total change in how chemistry that a lot of people, especially in our country, are not ready to let go of in a lot of ways. But I think it is. And I think that's for the betterment of like, for men too. Like, men need, like, I feel patriarchy sucks for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. Men need to see Barbie. They need to see like, whatever. Well, like whatever. They need to see women being the center of something for once or whatever. It doesn't have to be Barbie, but it's like, if you've never seen a movie that's like passes the Bechdel test, like you should probably try.
If we took it outside of an art context, it would be like, if you never eat something that's like the color green, you probably are lacking something in your diet, and if you can't tolerate that, that's like a serious issue,
dude. It's like you're a pirate with scurvy if you haven't ate anything.
Yes, exactly.
Barbie and Ken are both Pisces, so their birth dates are Pisces. So it's interesting that this movie came out when Saturn is in Pisces.
Teaching some lessons of
absolutely. Well, and something that's about how does this make you personally feel, and what do you feel capable of, and something both aspirational and also can make you feel kind of bad internally too, I think is something that we've discussed a lot about Barbie as a cultural icon, someone who both represented the incredible potential and also high standards that people felt like they could never live up to, and all of these things. And that also feels very Saturn Pisces, the kind of slipperiness and changeability.
And I mean, even the movie, like her fantasies become a reality when she goes into the real world.
Yes. And how is that different and harsh? Well,
I love anything else before we dive into our game? Before we play?
Let's play the game. I'm excited.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
We play a little game with our guests. You might have heard of it. Marry, Fuck, Kill. Familiar?
Yeah.
A game as old as time. Since we have your big three, which I know we've said before, but Gemini Sun, Sagittarius Moon, Libra Rising. We have some celebrities who are matches. So we're going to do 2 rounds, one with your Sun and Moon, one with your Sun and Rising. It's typically hard to find a big 3 match, especially with celebrity rising info. If any are wrong, I'm sorry. It is what it is. This is a comedy astrology podcast. You do have one big 3 twin. I'm just not familiar with them. Is a Jennifer Goodwin. She was in Big Love.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I know Jennifer Goodwin.
She was real.
Yeah.
She was. I loved the bangs. I was seeing cute pics, but I was like, I don't know your work. So,
Although she
anyways,
played Snow White and she
What
played
is-
Snow White
Once?
and that Once Upon a Time.
Mhm.
okay.
Also was in He's Just Not That Into You. Had the great monologue.
I'm missing out on her filmography. I will be upfront
Mhm.
about that. I'm ready to dive in. I do want to watch Big Love. So that is your big three
Mhm.
twin. So congratulations. All right, let's start with these Gemini Sun Sagittarius moons because good Lord, were there options to pick from. But this round is called, I'll dub this the Damn They're Hot. So we have, speaking of Nicole Kidman from Practical Magic, Naomi Campbell and Lenny Kravitz.
Oh my god.
Oh.
I know.
Mary Fuck Kill.
Mary Fuck
Yeah.
Kill, Nicole, Naomi, and
Ooh.
Lenny. I know. Like actually maybe probably one of the hardest rounds to historical date for us.
I actually love Naomi Campbell, so I am going to have to say that I would probably fuck my Naomi Campbell
Okay.
because she's just like one of like the
Supermodel of the
hottest
world.
and sexiest
Yeah.
supermodels ever to exist,
Right.
and I think everything about her is fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
Probably marry Nicole Kidman just because, you know,
Mm-hmm.
she seems like she'd be a great wifey, you know, to come home to.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Lenny. I'm sorry. I guess I'm going to have to kill you, even though you're hot and sexy and amazing. It was really hard.
Yeah.
And
I love this this Libra rising as well. It's like you are hot and sexy, but you have to go.
Someone's got to.
Someone has
to have
to.
you as like my second, you know, lover or husband too. So
yes.
I feel like I'm in the same sitch, mainly because I try every time that I'm like, I feel like I should kill the man, especially what we were just talking about. I feel like the man has to go.
Yeah. They'll
and so
understand.
I'm sorry. Also, I wasn't a big fan of that giant scarf. So
it's back.
I want to get wrapped up in the
No.
giant scarf. You just
Goodbye.
came out and said it's
Scarf.
fall. Get out your giant
I love
scarf.
it.
I want
I'm
in.
not
Okay.
a fan of that. I
Oh.
that's a bridge too far for this Taurus.
there's something that Lenny Kravitz can do that will make me not love him. So
Yeah.
just all of them, you know, all three of them, because they're so, you know, like they just all seem like they would just be really fun and cool to hang out with, you know.
Mhm.
No, they would absolutely.
No, there's no in this one. There is no wrong answers because all of them are marriage fuckable. Like they are that
Right.
to like a degree that is abnormal. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you put Naomi Campbell in it, it's like, come on, she's like one of like her and Nicole Kidman are one of the two of like the most beautiful women in the world. So,
and have
not
you
that
seen
we're all not
Naomi's
pretty,
Jamaica
but-
house? I mean, also think about the real estate that we're dealing with as well. This comes into play. Naomi's Jamaica house that has like water running through it, and you can like go boat to boat to these other
Okay.
houses is like
Oh, that's
insane.
cool.
Yeah.
Also, she's into astrology. I've heard her talk about astrology during her workout routines and her Instagram.
Oh,
So
fuck.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, this just solidified mine, and I'm a little bit shocked with my decision, but someone has to. I don't want anyone in this round to go.
No.
But I am also gonna fuck Naomi Campbell. Because I don't think that needs any further explanation. But this house thing really just put it over the edge, and also the astrology. And I want you to know that this is, I think, a real estate based round for me because there just has to be one reason. And I am gonna marry Lenny Kravitz because he also does design work. I've seen one of his rooms is like one of the most beautiful rooms I've ever seen in my life, and I've been like, that I want to like live in that. And that to me is like that does it. Which unfortunately means I gotta kill
Crazy.
Nicole.
Yeah,
but
it happens.
this is the thing: is that Nicole is like the consummate ingenue, like period piece person, and I just think she would be so beautiful.
Die gracefully.
Yes,
sure.
it would be.
Yeah.
Her last
the role of a
performance,
lifetime.
the role of a lifetime. And
She
to
would.
be like the scene that we would play out together, I think would be really beautiful. And
You push her down the Big Little Lies stairs.
yes, I mean, yes,
That's a little more modern, but
hey,
an
whatever it is,
option.
whatever it is, it's like, yeah, this is the role Nicole was born to play.
Mm-hmm.
And
All right.
I want to give her that chance.
I think I'm gonna marry Naomi. She just seems fun as well. Like her interviews. I need the drama. I want to hang out with Kate Moss. Like the world. I'm in. Stunning, funny. I mean, all these are Gemini, so you're gonna have a good time. I know it's not an option, but I would like to then mutually fuck Nicole and Lenny. That's not an option.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna kill Nicole as well. She's done great work. I think I would fuck Lenny. I just started doing Fly Away as my karaoke song, so it just feels like divine timing. And we saw his pants.
Yeah.
I just know what's going on. So that's always great. Thank you to all these 3 celebrities. Real tough round there. It's a hot round. So
yeah. Wow.
Some other sun moons, Gemini sun, Sag moon celebs. We also had Tom Holland, Scott Disick, Liam Neeson, Iggy Azalea, Judy Garland, Lauryn Hill, Zoe Saldana, Joan Rivers, Neil Patrick Harris, Bill Burr, Zachary Quinto, Barry Manilow, Melissa Etheridge, Will Forte, Danny Elfman, Laverne Cox, Sandra Bernhard, and I hate to mention him, but pop culture, Donald Trump, which also weirdly, you had Boris Johnson as your sun rising match as well. So anyway, it just felt, sometimes the astrology, you just got to throw in some of the baddies it's just interesting. Okay, if that wasn't enough people, now let's move to the Gemini sun, Libra risings. Of course, we have less with risings because we don't always get people's especially celebrities' birth times. This round, let's just call it random. So let's start with JFK.
Okay. What a place to start.
Anderson Cooper.
Okay.
And Paul Abdul. So these are some Gemini sun, Libra risings.
Wow.
Okay.
Hello, random.
I'm gonna have to say that JFK, he was a ladies' man, but I saw the Jackie O play years ago, and apparently he gave her an STD, which is why she had all of those miscarriages.
Oh my
God.
God.
I'm gonna have to say bye JFK, unfortunately.
Dick too dirty.
Exactly.
Okay.
Not.
Okay.
This is good to know.
My Virgo stellium isn't here for that. Like I can't handle all that drama.
Yeah.
Where's the Purell when you need it type of thing. I would have to say Paula Abdul. Who was the other one?
Anderson Cooper.
Well, I think I'd marry Anderson Cooper. He looks like a really steady fellow. Paula Abdul. She's a choreographer. She probably knows all the right moves. So yeah, why not?
Okay. Also, just love killing JFK, not because he's dead, but because the dick is too dirty.
Yeah,
it's just hilarious. That's just the Gemini-ness is LOL for me there.
I'm also gonna kill him. I feel like mainly because I don't feel like I could marry a politician, and also his nickname is my dad's name, so I don't feel like I could actually have sex with him either.
By the way, he has the same birth date as me.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, sorry. I just remembered.
And he's still not getting in. Okay.
Sorry. I'm still killing him regardless. But yeah, I do feel like I still have to. Yeah, he's got to go. Unfortunately. Yeah. And I think I might marry Paula Abdul. I feel like because I've seen her on TikTok doing some dance challenges, and obviously like she can learn an 8 count like no one, but I also feel like she just being down to do that is so kind of cool, and I feel like she has like a young at heart vibe, so I think I'm gonna marry her.
And then fuck Anderson.
Yeah, I'm gonna fuck Anderson Cooper, even though I don't think he would want to have sex with me. So sorry.
Yeah.
But
in this universe it's consensual.
A one night, and a one night fling of just like in New York, I feel like Andy Cohen watches. It's fun.
Yes.
No, I was like this. I feel like Anderson Cooper has fun like sex party energy.
I'm sure.
So I'm like, he's down. I feel like he's down.
Totally.
Yeah.
He feels like, can you imagine, like, and I think I mentioned Melissa Etheridge too earlier. Can you imagine going on like a cover like Anderson Cooper's My Sperm Donor? Like,
ooh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
he
That
has that, like, I could just, anyways.
Yeah.
Don't know where that came. Don't know
Agreed.
why, but
it's the
here.
Aquarius fifth house. He's a Libra rising.
It's the Aquarius fifth house.
Come on.
It's a little more unconventional. There is an unconventionality to Libra rising love. Okay.
It's everything is the same but opposite.
Yeah.
You know? So, you know. Do you have your answer, Stevie?
Yeah, I think I'll kill JFK. That's that's easy.
Yeah.
It's done. The deed is done.
After all the information revealed.
After all,
yes.
And also, like, I know he was like the hot president. For me, not as much. There's some, the big head. I don't know. Not
Let's
for me.
be
But I see how it's
honest and
forever.
say Barack Obama's the hot president.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was
for
just gonna say
sure.
that too. Yeah.
Well, there's only been some very small amount of hot presidents. I think it's them, and maybe some people say Bill, depending on your daddy issues or not. So that just outed myself. Anyways, I would say Bill, but
some people on this
people say
podcast might agree and say,
dude, William Henry Harrison. Like,
I mean,
the 9th president, so hot.
Brian Van Buren.
Like, our parents were like, Bill Clinton, he's so with it and like so hip.
He's so hip.
And we were like, and now we're just like,
war criminal. But that's everybody.
That's
everyone.
The saxophone.
Yeah, he smokes weed and plays the sax, and he clearly fucks. So maybe that is.
He actually doesn't smoke weed. He never inhaled.
Well, we've talked about this, and I think it's just too wild. Him and Monica share the same big three. Isn't that like?
You know what? I'm team Monica, so I can't.
Of course.
Yeah.
Till the day, loyal to the soil.
Course.
It's Monica.
Of course.
It's always Monica. But I will fuck Anderson Cooper. I'm seeing this sex party. I think I don't know why I'm seeing this weird fantasy of accidentally getting pregnant with this child. I don't know where this is coming from, but it's happening and it's here. And I would Paula. I don't know. She's silly.
Yeah, I think
she could hold her own against Simon. We've seen her on American Idol. We got a revived taste of her. Love her 80s energy. I don't know. She seems silly as shit.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that, I mean, obviously killing JFK, this new dick information. Also, I just don't believe the dick was good either. That's the thing where it's like, there's no way he was like a good lay.
That good repressed dick. I don't think so.
No way. You're for sure. Whatever. We don't need to get into it.
Now JFK Jr. We can talk.
Junior can get it.
That was not on.
That was not on the menu. But...
Come on. So JFK's gotta go. I don't care who does it. The conspiracy theories.
And JFK's got a Taurus Mars. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Bye JFK. Thank you for your service. And I also, I think I'm also gonna fuck Anderson. Although I do think that Vanderbilt, again.
Oh, right. I forgot.
I would like to get in on that Vanderbilt money, but I do think that also, I do like this like surrogate thing. I think that he would be generous in this way. I think he would you're getting invited to this stuff. I don't want the
forever friend.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I feel like he's nice to you afterwards and stuff. So you're going to the Hamptons for the 4th. That I want more access to that than like the pressure of being part of an American dynasty. No, I don't think you did. I think we're right, because it's like, no, you don't want to have to like.
Well, we'll fucking stay friends is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
I want the parties. I want the access. I don't want any of the pressure and the, whatever.
Yes.
And then, I'm going to marry Paula. And we're going to have a throuple with the scat cat from the Opposites Attract video.
So mote it be.
Oh my God. What about the scat cat? I mean, that cat,
What's his
That
sign?
cat
What's his
was
big three?
really cool. What's his big three?
Yeah,
Oh my
I'm like,
God.
hey, he's around. He's coming to the house. You
Sound
know?
off in the comments if you know the cats from Opposites Attracts side.
Yeah.
Some other Sun Rising's Gem and Libra were Kendrick Lamar, Ice Cube, Kate Upton, Leah Remini, Venus Williams, Jewel, Anne Heche, and as I mentioned before, Boris Johnson. So fun. And sorry, this is a random last thought that just came into my brain that just feels relevant to everything. Thinking of like this women's perspective shift of story, as well as like we're getting the Priscilla movie right after all the Elvis. But I'm sorry, I just had to like throw that just came to mind as we were all talking. Maybe it's because like the JFK legacy man situation is like, and then you mentioned Jackie O's story. I was like, anyways, what a game, what an episode. Lisa Stardust.
Lisa, thank you so much.
Legend.
Where tell people where they can find you if they're not already following you. Again, I feel like you are such a stalwart in the community that people, if they have not encountered your work yet, what are you doing? Follow Lisa.
Yeah, what do you got? What's going on? What's the plug?
Thank you guys so much. This was so much fun. And it's so funny because I do play that game with my friends too, but we don't do it astrologically. So, you know, that's the new drinking game.
I know. I'm like, something to consider.
It was so much fun talking with everyone. And for those who want to find me, I'm on Instagram at Lisa Stardust Astro. LisaStardust.com is my website. And I'm on Twitter at Lisa Stardust _, and I'm on Threads at Lisa Stardust Astro.
Oh, hell yeah.
You can find me on TikTok at Lisa Stardust. And I guess I'm everywhere. I never really, when you have to say it all in one breath, you're like, wow, like that's a lot of social media. So.
And Threads, shout out to the Threads. That's a new realm.
Yeah.
I'm praying it looks more like Twitter as time goes on. So we'll get over there. X. Bro,
it was so funny when that happened. I was like, "What is X?" And it took me like, I was like opening the app, and I'm like, "This looks like Twitter, but it's not." It took me like a good minute to figure that out.
I'm the psycho, still very dependent on Twitter, where I changed the app shortcut on my phone to still look like Twitter. The design of X is not present on my phone.
Yeah,
for the real freaks.
I love that. Well, thank you, Lisa, so much for joining us today. This was an absolute dream come true. Thank you guys for listening. We love you, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, thank you.